This is episode 535 on the 17th of June 2022 at this special start time. So it's India South Africa game 4 of the 20 over competition, and it's all about Rishabh Pant establishing his legacy and moving away from the false moniker of young captain. There is nothing called a young captain. I've been there in those positions, part of leadership groups. You take a little bit of time to understand what your role is, what are the responsibilities in this particular role that has been given to an individual. But it's time to move away from this young captain false moniker, because our attitude towards this individual has been anti Rishabh for a very long time. It's as if we don't want him in the team because we think that individuals like probably KS Bharat or Ishan Kishan are better wicket keepers and better batters, because the whole obsession with keeper batters and batter keepers continues. I don't agree with that. If you can do both, it doesn't matter what is your primary skill, because for me, if a keeper cannot contribute, cannot bat the way Josh Butler did against Netherlands when England nearly scored 500, I'm not surprised. He just took off very left in the national T20 Cup. But that tournament is not being televised, so who's going to bother about that particular tournament? And back to this India South Africa game 4. The interesting part is that once again, with the series at 2-1, South Africa having won the first two matches and India winning the third one, a very similar template has been going on. Luckily, this was not a 3-match tournament but a 5-match tournament, which means the team got a couple of extra games to make sure that they would not lose the series. But this story of a must-win game, where have we not heard this before? A must-win game, because we are trailing by 2-1 and South Africa is at its full strength. I don't know what that means. India doesn't have its established players, but maybe a decade from now, this group would be the established players. Who defines established players? Established players come and go as and when the demands of the sport want it. So this whole story about established players and the same old boring must-win game story, because if India lose, the final game becomes, as they often call it, a dead rubber. How can rubber be dead when the rubber is already an inanimate object? So the term dead rubber itself is what one calls, well, there's a term for it, but that's not important right now. We'll get to the term as and when the demands come. But the term dead rubber is a misnomer. It's an incorrect phrase, but in sports, dead rubber means that one team has already won the tournament, so the other team is looking to play, as the term goes, for pride. What pride? You don't play for pride, you don't play for your country. No sports person plays for their country. There is no nationalism involved. The whole story of nationalism is just a cover up. It's just to add some interest to the game so that you have viewership both on television, on the pseudo media, on the digital cable networks, as well as on the ground. If the ground is full, we presume that people have come because they have an affinity for the sport and the whole pseudo nationalism associated with it. No. Whether they watch a football match, a hockey match, an athletics tournament, they come because they want to enjoy. They see in that squared circle the athletes being paid to perform as the match is about to begin in a couple of seconds. And once again, it's Rituraj and Ishan Kishan opening. Of course, these two will be fighting for that opener slot, a third or fourth opener slot for the 20 over World Cup, Rahul and Rohit already establishing themselves here. Rahul is injured, so one of these two will look to establish themselves once again. South Africa is going to bowl first. Does the toss even matter? For me, the toss never mattered. As I said over a couple of months ago, should the toss be replaced by arm wrestling as Marco Jansen bowls to Gaikwad and it's the first ball is a wide. Of course, you have a 7 feet individual doing the job, so it's a wide. So it's an interesting start. How many runs can India score? If they can get anything between 180 and 190, of course, South Africa would have learned from last game that they need to make sure that the openers don't provide them a start, and India were heavily criticized for not being able to score in the last 10 overs. It was expected of them to score around 200, 215, but they only managed 180, 179 because they could not score heavily in the last 10 overs. But I think 180 was a good score, and the first two matches it worked. Of course, it's 2 for no loss after 0.1 overs. The single has been taken. The first ball was a wide. I don't mind the wide, it's fine. It could have easily touched the bat, gone to the keeper, it could have been a tickle, and he could have got a wicket of the first ball in the most bizarre manner. So you never know. Wides can have a situation where the ball can touch the bat, or the wide can have a situation where the ball doesn't touch the bat, but it's fine. I don't think it's an error, it's a mistake. Of course, you have a 20-year-old Marco Jansen, Rabada, and Wayne Pandya not playing. Marco Jansen comes in as the semi all-rounder. He is still to establish himself in the whole all-rounders category, but there's a long way to go for that. And as always, we'll be doing 5 overs for the match. But before that, as the match progresses, as this ball has been smashed away by Ishan Kishan on the pants, and the run rate is already at 12 runs per over. But let's discuss something interesting. Now we all know that India is scheduled to tour UK, partly Ireland, and full tour of England. 320 over matches, 350 over matches, and a test match which is rescheduled from last year's mishap of whatever reason the match was rescheduled for. But the news that has come in is that Hardik Pandya is the captain for the Ireland tournament, as Ishan Kishan quickly takes a single. So 4 balls, 7 for no loss. So Hardik Pandya has been given the captaincy of the tournament against. They're only going to play 2 matches, and there are not too many new names. The only new name is Rahul Tripathi, who is getting a chance after waiting and waiting and waiting at the age of 30 and a half or 31, whatever be his age. We have a couple of good players in this team, but I was disappointed because I would have wanted someone like Hardik Pandya, Bhuvneshwar Kumar to be in the test team. Yes, it's an additional members added to the test team, but I would want Hardik Pandya to be in the test team. Those who will contest this, I'll give you an example. Take the example of Daryl Mitchell, the last person you expect to play a 5-day game. He not only played it, he played well. He was replacing other players, marquee players. He hit 100 runs in 2 consecutive matches. He doesn't bowl too much. Colin de Grandhomme, you don't expect people like Colin de Grandhomme and Daryl Mitchell, as Marco Jansen bowls to, who cuts but misses by a huge margin. So you don't expect someone like Daryl Mitchell or Colin de Grandhomme to even play the 5-day game, but New Zealand gambled on him. So why can't we gamble on Hardik Pandya? I would do that. I don't care this whole red ball, white ball situation. You look at how Johnny Bairstow came into the team and he hit 177 balls. They said, why not show the same aggression as far as the 5-day game is concerned? Why do we need to be tuk? Why can't we go bang, bang, bang? And of course, he praised the national T20 competition, which he had to, because he also receives a paycheck from them. He didn't have to praise that competition, but it came out of emotion. And then He had a partnership in 19 overs with Ben Stokes, who's already done such things before. So I was not surprised. In fact, I wanted this to happen. I want someone like Johnny Bairstow to do it often, and India need to take leave out of this aggression and say, let's go for it. If we get out, we get out. You can't be scoring as this one has been left alone. So a wide has been given, which is a very poor decision to give a wide because of the incompetent umpires that we have in this particular tournament. That was not a wide. I cannot believe that the umpire gave that ball a wide, but 1 over 9 runs, you never know, you could be, well, where could you be in such a situation? Of course, there was no edge in the Ishan Kishan cut shot, which he missed by a long way, as Lungi Ngidi runs in, bowls to Gaikwad, who plays it away but straight to the fielder. So 7 balls, 9 runs at a rate of around 6.5 to the over. But the wide was a poor decision. So how does this match pan out? It's always been about filling the spots, filling the all-rounder spot. Once again, Venkatesh Iyer and Hardik Pandya, only one of them will be selected for the World Cup. The interesting thing is Venkatesh Iyer, who was filling in for Hardik Pandya when Pandya was out due to injury, has not got a chance in this tournament, and they have not made any changes, which is not surprising. This one played it away, almost a bit of swing, and he got the bat right in time. Otherwise, there could have been an appeal for LBW. So, as I said, Venkatesh Iyer has not got a chance. He is unlikely to get a chance. If India win, they make a 2-all, so they will not want to make any major changes. But what I would do, I would tell Pant, you fly to England, you have a test tournament in a couple of weeks, let someone else be the captain. There are plenty of individuals available to take the role, even if it means that you are shy away from the role. A 20-over tournament anyways is not important, as a slower delivery straight to the fielder, so the bowler trying to outfox the batter as always, so nothing surprising about it. But if I was the coach, I would, as Rahul Dravid, I would say, I'm sorry selectors, I'm sorry Indian Cricket Board, but me and Rishabh Pant and a few of us are leaving. The 5th game can be handled by somebody else. We have enough semi-competent coaches. There are more important things to consider. And then why can't we follow the ruthless aggression route of England? As Ngidi bowls, and this very well could be a maiden over with just the wide as run. So well bowled by Ngidi, who is always in the shadow of Rabada, because Rabada has become more popular. Ngidi is always in that zone where he is there and yet he is not there, which is a very interesting story between Ngidi and Rabada. And not surprising that Rabada was injured. It was always going to happen after straining himself in the National T20 Cup and overstraining himself in this particular tournament. And this one has been cut away and it beats the fielder. Good shot. So a boundary comes 13 for 0 after 1.5 overs. Good shot by Gaikwad after it was short, it was wide, and it was cut away. So as long as these two can string up a partnership, it will be a very interesting story. How many runs? I think 160, 170 is good. Of course, South Africa have Klaasen and de Kock and Marco Jensen. They have a couple of good players as far as the all-rounder category is concerned. But I'm not too concerned about it. We saw what happened and this time, is there an edge? Yes. So the pressure mounts on Gaikwad and he played a lazy shot. He went for the ball and, well, the crowd has gone silent because for the second time in this tournament, India lose a wicket early after 2 good 50-run partnerships. A bit of pressure, the bounce also playing a role. He was trying to edge the ball past the keeper, but the bounce got to him, and Quinton de Kock, who missed a couple of games for whatever reasons, has taken the gloves in this particular match, and Gaikwad goes for 5 after receiving praise in the last match. He doesn't score much, it's fine. He is still in my category of the thing. Will India once again get to 145, 150? That remains to be seen. How will the others respond? They cannot go ruthless now. They will have to be smart about it. You cannot always be going bang bang bang. Of course, England scored nearly 500 against which team? Netherlands, it doesn't count. Yes, they hit fours and sixes at will, but Netherlands, a team which hardly plays, and when they play once in 3-4 months. They have been playing against a couple of teams, but they have lost at least 7 games. So Netherlands is in that associate or in that fringe nation category. Though they're a very good hockey team, but the International Cricket Board is not giving them enough opportunities to play. And the England tour of Netherlands is just to fulfill some kind of contractual obligation, some kind of program obligations. So England team can also say that we have a so-called white ball team playing, and we also have a red ball team playing against New Zealand. We have enough players. We have 17 players here. We have 17 players here. And Ishan Kishan gets the first ball out of the ground for a 6. So this is going to be a very, very interesting match as to how the build-up was there for this particular match. Once again, a pull shot. It was not played with that kind of confidence, but it had enough to go beyond, and you needed somebody on a helicopter or a drone to take that catch. But he may get out the next ball if it tries the same shot again. Once again, short ball, and this time it's played away with good authority. So with 19 for 1 after 2.2 overs, going around 8 to the over, and if they can score between 45 and 50 in the first 6 overs, 45, 50, 55, it will be a good score. You never know what you will score in the last 14, 15 overs. As I said, of course, we are obsessed with 180. Of course, we would love teams to get 300. But then, as I said, that is Netherlands. England would never get 500 against South Africa or Australia. So that was almost like playing against a country which hardly ever plays the sport. India has never played Netherlands. They never played Scotland. I mean, they may have played 12, 13 years ago in Scotland. They did play against the T20 World Cup, but that's a different schedule. That's because they are forced to play, because that's how the tournament is scheduled. But apart from that, India will never play any tournament against Ireland. Of course, Ireland is part of the contractual obligations, but 2 matches, are you seriously kidding me? What obligations are you trying to come up with by saying only 2 matches? You're happy that these players have been selected for 2 matches as an attempt at a run out, but they miss and the single has been taken. So it's been a very strange kind of a start. 4, 6s, confusion, wickets, all kinds of things happening. 2 matches. We all know who will get a chance, who will not get a chance. We all know which bowlers will get a chance, which bowlers will miss out. You may once again see an Arshdeep Singh and Umran Malik at all points miss out on this match. That's obvious. That is going to be so obvious that, of course, we are happy about the whole Ireland situation that Hardik Pandya has become the captain. But that's never going to add this time. It's on the pads and the ball races towards the boundary, beats the keeper. Good bowling by the bowler, but in this so-called format, you need a bit of luck. And 4s and 6s is what you need. So 4s, 2.5 overs at 21 for 24 beats the keeper. Of course, the keeper has just recovered from injury, so can't expect the keeper to just go diving as if they are free of injury. They missed 2 games, so they might have passed the test, but still the psychological impact is always there. So 1 for 24, 2.5 overs, as I like to call Ishan Kishan, the Chota Quinton, as it's a use appeal, but it's probably going down leg and pitching outside leg. Will they go for the review? They will go for the review. Probably, yes, they have gone for the review, but it might go against South Africa, or it might go for umpire's call. You never know. It could be umpire's call, the original decision stays, or it's out. Well, if it's out, then the pressure is on Rishabh Pant. If he comes at 2 for 24, and the dugout and the coaching staff, well, they can't do anything. This is the football, not a football match, not a hockey match. They cannot do anything in this particular situation. Well, it seemed as if the ball may have pitched in line. He was bowling round the wicket to the bowler, to the batter, and it's hoping against hope. If it pitches in line, then most likely Shreyas Iyer might find himself going back to the dugout. Otherwise, if it pitches outside leg stump as are the norms, then Shreyas Iyer survives. But it's as if they're only looking for the snicko, the edge. But there's no bat involved. It means it may have pitched in line and the bowler may have dropped the ball and in line, and Shreyas Iyer will have to walk back. So 2 wickets lost in the first 3 overs, just pitching in line. Sometimes 50-50 calls, but the umpire has to change his decision. One could understand why the umpire did not give it out, because in his mind's eye it was maybe it pitched outside. So one can understand that. So, but Marco Janssen's tall frame has got them the wicket, and this is a deja vu of what is happening in the second game, and India lost wickets in the first few overs, and now the pressure is on Rishabh Pant to play in a more mature manner. If he can't come in 2 for 24 and try to hit first ball for a 6, as Ishan Kishan, Rishabh Pant, Dinesh Karthik compete for that slot as far as the World Cup is concerned. We are always competing for slots. So 2 more overs to go for tonight's program. 2 for 24, which means South Africa have a 3-1 winning thing happening here. But let's see what happens. Of course, the whole toss becomes a very strange thing, but let's not get carried away. So they lost 2 wickets, a bit of luck as far as the first wicket was concerned, a bit of bounce, and the batter was flummoxed. Here, he was trying to go for the flick shot, he misses it, all 3 reds, and the batter has to say, all right, you got one on me. That's how this whole thing progresses. So 12 balls to go for tonight's program. Let's see what happens. As Rishabh Pant walks in at number 4, which MS Dhoni used to do a lot in his relatively younger days, or days when he was a captain in the beginning of his particular career. And I've seen this so many times. This almost looks a deja vu of the India-South Africa game in 2007. As this one is straight to the fielder, so the run rate is just around 7.5. 19 balls, 2 for 24, and something interesting will have to be done. And once again, they show the record, and then the commentators go on this thing. The strike rate of 147 is not enough. The strike rate of 147 is not enough. The strike rate of 147 is not 127 is not, I think it's a good strike rate. But then when we have obsession with strike rates, I've already talked about strike rates, so we are not going there. And this time it's played straight to the fielder, so the pressure is on Ishan and Rishabh to make sure that they can get somewhere between 155-160, because now South Africa will surely want to get the spinners into the story. I think it was not that bad a shot. He missed. Could have gone either way. A bit to the right, pitching outside leg. But when the umpire gave it not out, the bowler wanted to review because he thought that he had got everything right, everything in the perfect position. So 2 dot balls, which means Ishan Kishan is under pressure. Now he will try to hit his way out of trouble, and when that happens, he might lose his wicket, which will put pressure on numbers 5 to number 7. This time he pulls, but not with that authority. But they will get 2 runs. This is a huge ground, and thank God they're playing on big grounds. One of the rare big grounds in India. I don't think it's that bad a start. Of course, you can say that Gaikwad played a poor shot, then Shreyas Iyer missed completely. It happens. You have a 7-foot bowler, he can bamboozle you. And South Africa, of course, they have come with a plan. Bowl first, stick the team to 145, 150, chase it down, and depend on Henrik Larsson and the rest to do the job. Let's see what happens. This time, he comes down the track and hits the bowler flush on the ankle. He tried to stop the ball, and the bat and the bowler is in some kind of pain. And if these individuals are very fit and such hard hitting ball should not affect them, but he's been on the ground for about a couple of seconds. He tried to stop the ball and it hit him hard on the side of the ankle, and when that happens, it really can be not good for the bowler. He also slipped, stretched himself, so it will be a very interesting, and he of course winced in pain, clutching his hands, and he is walking off, which means that Africa have lost an important bowler, and hopefully the injury is not that severe so that he can come and recover. He's recovered, he's going to bowl this over. That's interesting. I thought he was walking off, so I got the message wrong. So he's going to bowl. Now the pressure is on Ishan Kishan because only 2 runs have come of this over, and he's trying to stave off the pain. Adrenaline can help in that particular situation. Let's see what happens. So here we are 8 balls away from the end of tonight's program. As Ngidi steams in, Ishan Kishan drives, but good field placing by South Africa and a relatively slow start for India. Of course, 6.5 after 4 overs is never good enough. Of course, in 20 overs, you want them to be at least 40, 45, but you never know. And then, of course, everyone will say it's a slow wicket. It's a huge ground. The spinners for South Africa will come into the picture. That's what the discussion will be. Tabraiz Shamsi and Keshav Maharaj will play a role as a single has been taken. Overall, a good over by Ngidi, who can now go into the dugout and take a couple of pills and make sure that he gets the recovery needed, which will allow Temba Bavuma. He has enough bowlers at his disposal. He can get in the spinners, which will force Rishabh Pant and Ishan Kishan to go after the spinners, and you might see the South African plan going to a T. Last week they missed out. They allowed a partnership. This week, if you never know what is going to happen. So the final over of tonight's program. How many can India get? Well, they can get what they will get. I can't predict. You can't predict. Who can predict? 4 overs, 2 for 28, 2 for 27. Not good enough. Slow start. One can criticize them. One can go after them. One can be deceptively very, very annoyed. I'm not. I would say that Iyer got unlucky, and Gaikwad, well, when you have a 7-foot guy, anything is possible. As Jansen steams in to Ishan Kishan in the 5th over and the final over of tonight's program. As he bowls, Ishan Kishan plays it away, and another good start by the bowler, which means the run rate has slowed down. It's come from 8 to 6.5. So a very interesting situation overall. A very, very interesting situation. And it's a no ball. Woohoo! The first ball is a no ball, which means Ishan Kishan gets an opportunity for a free hit. Is that really a no ball? Oh yes, this time the umpires had a good vision. Otherwise, most of the umpires are myopic when it comes to no balls and they are incompetent. But this time he probably got it right. But I don't mind. He's 7 foot. It can happen. So what will IK do? He does it. He smashes it away and he gets a boundary. As I said, he is Chota de Kock because Quinton de Kock plays exactly in this particular manner, and he goes to 20. He's been the guy scoring runs. For someone who was heavily criticized for not being able to score in the National T20 Cup, of course, it's a slog. Had he missed, had it not been a no ball, he would have been bowled. So a bit of a luck inside edge, and the field change is not allowed, which I don't agree with. But those are the rules in this particular sport, and we all call them a batter's game. Well, the rules are stacked against bowlers. So it's not a batter's game, the rules are skewed. This time on the pads, and once again it beats the fielder, taking advantage of the fielding restrictions, couple of boundaries, and a bit of sanity restored, and the run rate once again reaching an 8.5 runs per hour mark. And every time two boundaries are hit, the crowd goes ballistic without even knowing what are they going ballistic about. That's interesting. So once again, round the wicket on the pads, smartly played, did not try to execute any forceful shot, and he beats the fielder, and the ball goes to the boundary and is not cut off. It could have been easily been cut off, but the fielder decided not to dive and not injure themselves. This time straight to mid-on, nicely fielded. So 4.3 overs, 2 for 36. A decent start. Of course, losing wickets, it's never easy in these situations. But then that's how you look at such situations. Iyer probably very unlucky. It could have gone either way, but it doesn't matter. They have enough batters after this. There's Hardik Pandya, there's Nish Karthik also, and this time once again on the pads, and they will take 2 runs. No, they will only take a single. So 4.4, 2 for 37. And how will Pant play this? He can take a leaf out of Dhoni's book, play smartly, give the strike to someone like Ishan Kishan who's playing good. And we have seen what has happened. If Henrik Klaasen can be on 20 of 20 and 80 of 40, if Van der Dussen can be on 20 of 20 and finally hit 75 of 44, then anybody can do it. But this is a relatively bigger ground, and in this tournament Ishan Kishan has done well. So I was not worried about his performance in the National T20 Cup, because I'm never worried about the performance in the National T20 Cup. You do well, good. You don't do well, if you are part of the national team, international team, as Pant will take a single, smartly done, he knows what he has to do. After playing 47 games, you have enough knowledge what you have to do. But I'm disappointed. I would have wanted a Hardik Pandya in the test team, a Bhuvneshwar Kumar in the test team, and even Akshar Patel in the test team. I have no idea what those myopic selectors are thinking. As the final ball of tonight's program, well, what will he do? Will he once again hit his lob shot, look away shot, try to hit out of the trouble and get out, or will he take a single? Well, on the pads, and he takes a single. There's a fielder station over there. So 5 gone. Interesting over for India. 5 gone, 2 for 39. So this ends episode number 535 on the 17th of June 2022. Stay tuned for the next episode with episode number 536 on the 20th of June 2022.